Listen-only mode.
Good morning, and thanks for attending our presentation on phosphate product safety. Our intention is to provide a broad overview of important safety issues and explain how global harmonization requirements have impacted phosphate products. Chemical safety is a complex topic with many components. A seminar should address a variety of important topics ranging from regulatory standards, worker exposure, chemical reactivity, disposal of waste, and ultimately to the disposal of empty packages. I will cover as many of these topics as I can in the presentation, but remember that we have many safety experts on staff who stay up to date on the newest information. They can always be consulted at any time after the completion of this webinar. Specifically, during this webinar, we'll cover the safe use and handling of blended phosphate products. By way of introduction, I'd like you to know that Carus Corporation is a member of the American Chemistry Council, ACC, and as a member, we participate in ACC's Responsible Care initiative. There are several important principles that form the program, but none more important than to protect the safety of our workplace staff and our customers. Today's program is one part of our ongoing customer safety communication effort. So let's start. Blended phosphate products are part of a broad chemical category identified as corrosion control and sequestering chemicals. Blended phosphate products are manufactured, packaged, and delivered in two main forms. One, dry powders, and two, concentrated liquids. They are similar in that the active ingredient, which is orthophosphate and polyphosphates blended together, is the same regardless of the physical form of the product. However, they are different in the concentration of this active ingredient, varying from nearly 90% as dry product to 40% to 10% as a liquid solution. These changes in form and concentrations will drive the associated cautions about safe handling and use. Of the products we're going to talk about, the dry powders are Carus 2150, 2250, 2350, and 2450, and the concentrated liquids are Carus 4200, 4500, 8100, 8105, 8400, 8500, 8600, and 8700. This also includes the Aquamag and CalSequest product lines. Communicating the potential hazards and precautionary actions, specific worker protections, and remediation options is accomplished through a variety of methods. In addition to webinars such as this one, the common routes for these are shown here. These include safety data sheets, chemical safety reports in Europe called REACH, package labels, pictograms, and warning placards. This brings us to the global harmonized GHS standard for hazard communication. Today there is a drive for consistency in the way information is delivered worldwide. As our understanding of product applications evolves or as regulations change, these communication routes may also be reformatted or revised. The Safety Data Sheet, SDS, is still our most important safety literature piece. As of June of last year, the GHS compliant Safety Data Sheet replaces the previous Material Safety Data Sheet, the MSDS. This switch to a new name signals that there have been changes. For example, there is a new 16-section format to the SDS. Although Carus had been using a 16-section MSDS for some time, there is some changing to how the categories are lined up. Of special note, if your product has new red, black, and white pictograms, they're part of this new format. A safety data sheet is available for each of our individual phosphate products. Remember that when it is stored and handled properly, your products are stable and easy to use. Blended phosphates are not considered hazardous chemicals, so they do not have any pictograms. Under normal conditions, they're stable, both in the solid form and the liquid form. Please make sure to read and understand the safety data sheet and all product labels for your specific product. In addition to the new pictograms, which blended phosphates do not have any, there are also signal words, hazard statements, and precautionary statements that are new to the phosphate labels. They are designed to better define the health and safety impacts of the product being used. If there was a signal word required, there would be only two to choose from, warning or danger. Specifically for blended phosphate products, there is no signal word required. The new hazard statement for blended phosphate products is as follows. The mixture does not meet the criteria for classification. This is due to no potential health hazards from the chemistry of blended phosphate products. These are the new phosphate precautionary statements. The wording is very specific to blended phosphates and linked to the physical hazards associated with them. Under precautionary statements, there is prevention, which says observe good industrial hygiene practices. Response, wash hands after handling. Storage, store away from incompatible materials. Disposal of waste and residues in accordance with local authority requirements. These are all the precautionary statements on blended phosphates. For phosphate environmental and physical hazards, in the case of blended phosphates, there are none listed for any of these products. Now let's transition to the important discussion of worker protections, specifically PPE. The safety data sheet still contains recommendations for personal protective equipment. By following these recommendations, exposure is minimized or eliminated and health hazards are negated. Let's look at these in detail. The inhalation exposure for phosphate products, for the most part, apply only to the dry powders. When transferring the material from its package into a storage hopper, a fine dust can be released. Phosphate dust can be an irritant, and breathing it should be avoided. This can be accomplished by a NIOSH MSHS approved dust or mist respirator. It may be possible, however, to imagine a situation where a fine mist of liquid phosphate is generated and a worker may be exposed. This would be rare but could occur if a line under pressure has a small cut or leak. For blended phosphates, eye protection should be worn if contact is likely, specifically safety glasses with side shields. Please ensure that proper removal of personal protective equipment is also important because phosphate products that come in contact with side shields can get into the eye when you remove the safety glasses with side shields. Dry phosphate crystals specifically can be sharp and abrasive and can scratch the eye surface if they get in the eye. Avoid contact with phosphates. In addition to normal work covering arms and legs, wear protective gloves for prolonged or exposed repeated skin exposure. As with all chemicals, concentrated phosphate products should not be ingested. Do not eat or drink phosphate or any other chemical. Always wash hands before eating, drinking, or smoking. If ingestion of phosphate occurs, immediately rinse mouth and drink plenty of water. Get medical attention if symptoms occur. Refer to Section 4 of the SDS. I now want to discuss how to properly store phosphate products and the potential hazardous conditions that you should be aware of. Phosphate products are manufactured and packaged in containers made of compatible materials. When phosphate is repackaged into smaller container sizes, the proper containing materials must be used. Under normal conditions, phosphates are very stable and have a shelf life of many months to a year. Cautionary statements regarding proper storage reflect the concerns of accidental leakage or spills from the original package mixing with incompatible materials on the warehouse floor or drainage systems. In a warehouse, be aware that lift trucks, forks may puncture a phosphate package. Phosphate that leaks from a damaged container can react with other materials on the warehouse floor. What you want to do with blended phosphates is protect them from exposure to extreme temperatures. High temperatures will cause the polyphosphate to revert to orthophosphate, and low temperatures will cause the phosphate to precipitate out of solution, causing white solids in the container. When involved in a fire, the material may form toxic fumes of phosphorus. Please refer to Section 7 of the SDS, Handling and Storage, for more information on these requirements. The NFPA hazard code for blended phosphates typically is as follows. Health hazard is 1. Under fire conditions will give off irritating combustion products. Flammability hazard is 0. Non-flammable, will not burn, but will support combustion. 0 for reactivity hazard, normally stable, not reactive with water. And the special hazard for blended phosphates is none. If a fire occurs and phosphate is involved, you can use the following to extinguish the fire. Large quantities of water, CO2, foams, powders can all be used as extinguishing medias. You want a berm to contain the phosphate solution so you don't have a spill. Please refer to Section 5 of the SDS for more information on this. The Hazardous Materials Information System, HMIS label, is similar to the NFPA fire diamond. While the NFPA fire diamond is designed for emergencies when information on short-term effects of exposure is needed, the HMIS color bar label is not for emergencies but is used to provide health warning information to operators. The HMIS hazard code for blended phosphates is a 1 for health, 0 for flammability, 0 for reactivity, so this matches the NFPA diamond. The new category, protective equipment E, says that minimum PPE should be safety glasses, gloves, and a dust respirator if exposed to dust. Dry phosphate spill cleanup. If a dry phosphate is spilled, sweep up the material and transfer it to a clean metal drum. Do not return the spilled product to the original package if that container still contains phosphate that you plan to use. Floor sweepings or other chemicals could include reactive material that was on the floor that will now contaminate your product that you're going to use and react with the phosphate. Please refer to Section 13 of the SDS. Liquid phosphate spill cleanup. If a liquid phosphate is spilled, you can contain and isolate the liquid, either collecting it in a pit or a holding area or burn it in place. You then want to absorb with inert media and dispose of properly. Please refer to Section 13 of the SDS. If you are transporting or shipping phosphate products, they fall under the Hazardous Materials Regulation. Specifically, this sets up what identifies and classifies as a hazardous material, the quantity limitations, the proper packaging, how to mark and label the packages, what shipping certificates, and what placard needs to be on the transporting vehicle. Specifically for blended phosphate products, they are not regulated by the Department of Transportation. They are also do not have a reportable quantity when released to an environment. So you won't see placards or shipping papers with any of the required information because it's not required for these products since they are not regulated by the DOT. Disposal of products and containers. Disposal of blended phosphate products needs to be into a landfill that can be permitted. Disposal should be completed through a licensed disposal company for phosphate products. Packaging must be rinsed and the label removed prior to proper recycling or disposal. All this is contained in Section 13 of the SDS. The following map details our regional sales managers and their contact information for you to get in contact with them. For SDS and other technical information on your specific phosphate product, please contact your regional account manager that was on the prior page, or you can request information via our website below. In addition to the website or the regional account manager, you can reach us by phone at the Carus Corporation switchboard at the following 800 number. Thanks.